time is it? Fight!
Welcome to the MMA podcast.
Check this out.
Get all the latest news, interviews, and stars of the MMA world. Hosted by yours, John Boy McElroy. So tune in, everyone, right here to the MMA podcast.
Hello, welcome to another edition of the Martial Arts Chat podcast, and on today's show we return with another edition of the MMA roundtable, where I'll be getting the panel's predictions ahead of UFC 196 Mcgregor versus Diaz. And on the show today I'm joined by Don Wilson of Fight Talk Scotland, Peter Knox of MMA UK, and Kevin Jones of the Main Event on Double T 97.3. Gentlemen, a huge thank you for giving us your time ahead of tomorrow's big pay-per-view.
No bother.
Thank you. It's an honour to be here.
Before we get to Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz and everything that's led up to the fight so far, let's first start with one of the cards, one of the fights on the cards, I should say, which is oddly, it's on the Fight Pass prelims. Two veterans and exciting fighters, Diego Sanchez and Jim Miller. Kevin, I'll start with you on this one, sir. It's likely to be an energetic fight. What's your predictions for this, and who do you see walking out with a W?
I'm going to have to go with Jim Miller on this one, John. You know, he's a grinder. Diego Sanchez has been on a kind of downward spiral in my mind for quite some time. I think his best days are behind him.
Yeah.
You know, Miller is going to go in there. He's going to wrestle him. He's going to grind it out. And I just think he has more of the skills to pay the bills at this point in his career than what the Dream does.
And Peter, same question to you, sir. Miller versus Sanchez. Who have you got and why?
I'm absolutely torn. I love both of these fighters. I have to disagree with Kevin, because I think Miller's on a downward spiral as well. And they're both on a losing streak at the moment, so they're both desperate for the win. And I actually think Sanchez will knock him out.
I have to say, it's a good point you make there about desperation, and I think that just also ticks the box for an exciting fight. Don, your thoughts, Miller versus Sanchez, who have you got?
Yeah, I think Sanchez, he's been on a downward spiral. The wheels are pretty much falling off. He'll just keep taking punishment until they kind of get rid of him. I don't know if they ever get rid of him. They'll just keep him in there. Yeah. But yeah, I think Miller comes in, probably out wrestles him, keeps him at a distance. I don't see Sanchez taking. I don't see actually much of this fight taking place on the mat. I think Miller imposes as well on the feet. Sanchez gets beat up. Probably a decision. I don't see Sanchez getting finished, but yeah, Miller big decision.
And skipping to the Fox Sport prelims, I'm going to move straight to the main event, guys. And I'm going to start with Valentina Shevchenko. She takes on Amanda Nunes. Nunes is pushing ever closer to a title shot, but Don, I'll start with you this time, sir. Your thoughts on this bantamweight contest, Shevchenko and Nunes. Who are you picking and why?
Yeah, I rewatched the Amanda Nunes fight with Zingano recently. Nunes was great in the first round.
Yep.
Zingano got taken to the mat and Nunes punished her. But like most of Nunes' fights, when she loses in the later rounds. I think every one of her victories, most of her victories came in the first round, and when she does lose, it's third round decision. Mm-hmm. But she did look really good against Ngannou, and if she's kept that going and improved the cardio, see her dragging Shevchenko to the mat and finish her. But if Shevchenko can work on her feet and not fall into Nunes' game plan, I think she'll have some success in the clinch and drag out a decision if that happens. But if it goes past the first round, I see Shevchenko winning. But if Nunes can come out and impose her will in the first, I think she should do pretty well. But who's to pick? I go Nunes in the first.
Going for Nunes, and that's a good point. Yeah, I think gas tank will certainly play a factor in this fight. Peter, who do you see taking the victory? Is it Shevchenko or Amanda Nunes?
Well, I think Don's pretty spot on. Nunes, she likes to get in, start quick and finish her fights quick because her conditioning can be dodgy. But I think Shevchenko, I was impressed with her debut, and I think if she can keep Nunes at bay with her kicks, keep it standing and wait for the later round, she might steal it. But I think if Nunes does win it, I think she might get the next title shot if she finishes it in the first round.
She's on the cusp of it for sure. And finally, Kevin, your pick for this female contest, is it Nunes or is it Shevchenko?
I'm going Shevchenko. I'm still going to agree with the guys. I think her stand-up is going to make a difference in the fight. You know, she has the background, has the pedigree to go in there, and I believe that she can work angles to keep it standing, avoid those takedowns. I think it goes the distance, and I think she wins by a wide decision.
Wow. Corey Anderson and filthy Tom Lawler. Lawler, he's kind of on a recent resurgence here. Kevin, I'll start with you, sir. Who are you picking? Is it the filthy one, or is it Corey Anderson in this fight?
As much as I want to pick filthy Tom Lawler, I got to go with Anderson. I just think he brings too much to the table. His physicality is going to be too much for the ex-pro wrestler. I love Lawler. I think it's going to be a close fight, but I think that athleticism is going to put Anderson over, and I think he'll stop him. I don't think he'll stop him early. I think it'll be late in the third round, about midway through, and I'm thinking he'll stop him with some ground and pound.
Wow. Don, same question to you, sir. Tom Lawler, Corey Anderson, who you got?
Corey's a big, strong guy. He's a total worker, and I think he's more rounded than Lawler. As much as I'd like to pick Lawler, I just don't see, he wasn't looking great before he KO'd Valant, and I don't see Lawler out wrestling Corey and or even having a solid enough defence to kind of, as well as he's kind of lackluster takedown offence. Yeah. I see Corey getting Lawler to the mat and just outworking him, and if it stays standing, I see him picking off Lawler. I think he's got too much for Lawler. So I'm going to go Corey Anderson decision.
Corey decision. And Peter, what about yourself? Who do you see walking out with a W?
Yeah, well, I think the guys are pretty spot on, but one thing I've noticed about Anderson, when he's very offensive, he's sometimes overextends, and I think he leaves himself open for the counter, which Lawler is very good at. So I can see Lawler taking him out with a counter punch.
Yeah, I can see that too.
A sneaky surprise. Could be on the cards. Next up we have the light heavyweight division with Il Latifi and Guillaume Vellante. Both are big, powerful men, capable of a finish, and they can kind of grapple a bit too, I guess. Predictions here, gentlemen. Peter, I'll start with you this time, sir. Who are you picking? Is it Latifi or Vellante?
Yeah, as you say, they're both sluggers, looking for that knockout. I think Vellante's a bit inconsistent, and Latifi's I think he's on a win streak at the moment.
That's right.
And so I'd need to go with the more consistent guy. But it's a 50-50 fight. Whoever gets that big punch in first.
Yeah, it could be yeah, right, actually, yeah. Whoever gets the big blow could, definitely end that fight.
Yeah.
Kevin, I'll come to you this time. Your pick for Vellante versus Il Latifi.
Latifi is what I'm going with on this one. You know, he's a big guy. He's very powerful. He's got Vellante, while I like him, you take a look at his record. He's been knocked out 3 times. He's a heavy hitter as well, but I think that will be too much for him. I think he'll overcome him. I'm looking for a first-round knockout for Latifi.
Wow, and that's a good point, actually. I always kind of look at Vellante as one of those guys that if he got hit by one of the punches that he has thrown, I don't think he's going to stand it. His chin's probably is questionable, but his punching power can't be put into question. Don, I'll finish with you on this one. Your thoughts? Who are you picking in this light heavyweight contest?
Vellante for me is a hard pick here. Depending on how he fights this fight, Latifi is going to wait for Vellante to come out and counter and look for the finish. If Vellante keeps ear at the end of a jab or a kick, I can see him getting a win. But what gets me about Vellante is, I think I actually heard it best in a podcast, isn't it? Like, Vellante sometimes just checks out during the fight.
Yeah.
And if there's any of that tomorrow night and Il Latifi catches him, the fight's pretty much over. He's got the sledgehammers in his hands. But it's 50-50. Who knows? This is like the one, like, if you're going to bet in a fight, don't bet in this fight. It can go anyway. But I think I'm going to take Latifi by KO.
KO, excellent, nice one. Yeah, I was going to say, he'd be what we call in Scotland a coupon buster. He's if you're betting on him, you just don't want to back him, it's too dodgy. Next we move to the co-main event. It's Miesha Tate and it's Holly Holm. The first women's bantamweight fight in UFC that doesn't have Ronda Rousey attached to it. It should be very interesting. And Peter, your predictions, is it a new champion or does Holly Holm retain?
Well, I think it's good for women's MMA that it's the first championship fight without Ronda.
Yeah.
I'm a bit sad about the build-up for this fight. It could easily have been the main event, but Conor and Nate obviously stealing all the headlines for the obvious reasons, and I think there's a bit too much respect shown between both fighters. The way I'm going for it, I'm actually edging with Tate, and Tate by decision. She's improving every single fight. She's been waiting for this moment. She's got durability. I think she will get home down with her wrestling. I think she will get her down, and then we'll really see what Holly Holm's about.
Absolutely.
And I just think she'll get her down, get her against the cage, double leg, get her down, and she'll grind out a win.
And probably psychologically as well, right? You know, for Miesha Tate, when she's fighting for that title, it's always Ronda Rousey that's in the way. Looking over the other side of the cage, she's going to see Holly Holm. Do you think that that'll play a factor? Maybe she'll get even more confidence from the fact that it's someone that hasn't beaten her twice, if you like.
Yeah, but you look at who's defeated Tate. It's Ronda twice and Kat Zingano.
That's right.
I mean, really good fighters, and she's beat everybody else. So I just think it's her moment to shine. I just think Holm, I don't know. She's got great boxing, kickboxing. She's got a great takedown defence. But I just think Miesha's going to pull one out of the hat.
Miesha Tate for you. And Don, what are you and the guys Fight Talk Scotland thinking for this one? Is it a new champ, or does Mrs. Holly Holm retain?
Well, if you take into account the MMA math, Tate couldn't beat Rousey.
Yep.
And Rousey get beaten by Holly Holm, so effectively it's like Tate should get beat. But I like Tate in this fight. Tate she had trouble with Ronda Rousey, but in her last fight she was getting beat, and she was actually smart enough to change her game plan, turn it into a winning strategy, and actually ended up winning the fight. So I think she's doing really well. Obviously, we've heard the kind of stories of Holly Holm, like, well, she wasn't going to putting the foot full in the gas, like she wasn't performing as well in her last fights on purpose. And this is who Holly Holm is now. She's this kind of alternate boxer. But Ronda Rousey, she was running into those punches. I don't think Holly Holm hits as hard as people think. I think just Ronda Rousey kept running into those punches, and that's why she got finished. I think it's just going to end up. I think Tate's going to come out there, and I don't think she'll put on a clinic and absolutely batter up. But I think she will do well to push the pace and probably get Holly Holm onto the ground, and I see her kind of doing some good work on the ground. Yeah,
that's a good point, actually. And with that fresh in mind, the Holly Holm Ronda Rousey fight, footwork is obviously a big part of Holm's game, but yeah, it certainly makes it easier if you're just coming forward, in the stance of, I'm going to judo you. You're just the target waiting to be hit, and we saw that illustrated beautifully.
She was running in to get close enough to get a throw, and every time she was going, she was getting hurt, and it was really weird to look. It's like
leaving your chin wide open.
Stop, reset, think of something else. Don't just keep running in. And she just couldn't. I don't know. It was a really strange fight to watch, and I think. As I say, I was rubbish at maths, so I'm not going with the MMA math equation. I'm going to take
someone get a calculator for this guy to figure this out. Well, Kevin, I'll come to you. What's your thoughts? Do you think Holly Holm retains, sir, or is a new champ in Miesha Tate?
Well, this is an interesting matchup, John, for sure. I'm going to agree with the last gentleman and point out that Holly Holm is not a strong puncher. But she is very strong at 135 pounds. She fought almost her entire boxing career at welterweight. Welterweight in boxing is 147. She's a big, strong girl. Most of those girls that Rousey had been fighting, they're smaller than her and they were weaker than her.
That's right.
Holm, it's easy to look at the last fight that Holm had and say, oh, well, look how great she is. When people forget the last two fights that she had, she didn't look as slick. I think Tate presents a whole new set of problems for her. But I do think she's light enough on her feet and relying on that kickboxing background to work angles and and steal off on her.
Yeah.
I don't think that Tate can take 25 minutes of that jab in her face. And I'll give Tate. She has a benefit of the doubt in here to get her down and to work that ground game on her. But I just see the strength of Holm. I think she'll pop right back up anytime she wants to when she gets down. Now, I could be proven wrong in this deal, but, I think just the line speaks for itself. She's a over 3-1 favorite going into this deal.
Oh, wow.
She's coming off that great win from the last fight over Rousey. Her confidence has to be at an all-time high.
Absolutely,
she has a better camp behind her, and I just don't see it going any other way besides a one-sided beating. I'll say this. I think it could be either really one-sided for home, or I think it